Hello, this is the second part of the non-invasive cardiac imaging, discussing to you nuclear cardiology, CT, and MR. So this is the trend now in imaging in the United States, comparing it to the usual medical services. There's a rise in the demand in medical imaging in the other parts of the world, and same thing here also in the Philippines. So for the cardiovascular imaging, there are four non-invasive cardiovascular imaging. You have your echocardiography, you have your nuclear cardiology using your PET and SPECT, you have your cardiac MR, and also your cardiac CT or cardiac computed tomography. Now, in terms of spatial resolution, in terms of assessing for function, it is more inclined that we request for spec or PET or even echo or nuclear imaging if we do assess for function, and for structure the MRI and CT scan had better resolution for this imaging procedure that we need for the heart. So in terms of atherosclerosis and imaging modalities, so for the non-invasive imaging modalities, you have your stress ECG, you have your echo, you have your stress thallium or the nuclear, you have your calcium scoring system by computed tomography. And for the invasive procedure, you have your intravascular ultrasound and coronary arteriography. So if you have a coronary artery disease at around 50% of the lesion, 50% occlusion of the coronaries, then your diagnostic non-invasive imaging procedures becomes useful. But early part of the diagnosis of atherosclerosis, the invasive procedures are better off, or they're better than the non-invasive. Now, in terms of accuracy in the diagnosis of CAD, the sensitivity and specificity of exercise treadmill is around 68 and 77% respectively. For stress echo, it's around 83 and 93% respectively. For SPECT, 90 to 77% respectively. For PET, we have 93% sensitivity and 82% specificity. In cardiac CT or CT angio, we have around 96% sensitivity and 93% specificity. In terms of the parameters assessed with various imaging modalities, in terms of LV function, you can do the PET, the SPECT, the echo, the MSCT, or multiple beam CT scan, or MRI, or cardiac catheterization. For perfusion, of course, you could the PET, the SPECT, the echo, and the MRI can be used to look at possible problems in perfusion. And for the cardiac cath, you of course, besides perfusion, you could look at TIMI flow and the TIMI blush. For coronary pathology, echo is good, MSCT is good, and also cardiac CT. For viability, you have the PET, the SPECT, the echo, and also the MRI, which are good. And for valve function, you have the echo, MRI, and cardiac cath. But majority, you could actually use the transthoracic echocardiography in assessing the heart for non-invasive imaging procedures. So let's now go first to nuclear cardiology. Nuclear or radionuclide imaging requires IV administration of radiopharmaceuticals, your isotopes or tracers. Once these tracers are taken upon by the structure of the body, radiation is emitted in the form of photons or gamma rays, and you will now see on your screen the images of the heart. If you try to take a look at the images of the heart here, you would appreciate the short axis view of the heart, wherein you will see the circular shape of the left ventricle. You have the anterior and posterior walls, and you have the apical four-chamber view. Now, a special camera detects these photons as it creates images by the computer interfaces like what you see now on your screen. And there are several types of your radionuclide or nuclear testing. You have the SPECT or the single photon emission computed tomography, and you have your PET or PET, positron emission tomography. And the more sensitive one here is the PET compared to the SPECT. Both differ in instrumentation, acquisition, resolution, and nucleides use. So the right side of the screen is the PET and the left side of the screen is the SPECT. So for its application, for its clinical application, nuclear cardiology can be applied in assessing coronary artery disease, assessment of the LV and RV function, cardiomyopathy or myocarditis, valvular heart disease, cardiac shunts, secondary hypertension, pulmonary hypertension, and also assessment of the cardiac transplant. So let's now go to the cardiac CT. Cardiac CT findings might provide clues regarding tissue characterization with central calcification suggestive of a cardiac fibroma. Even with advances in ECG gating, cardiac CT scanning often offers a little diagnostic value over a thorough echocardiographic evaluation. The best application for CT scan is actually your calcium scoring system. Okay, the ones that you look at, you check the coronary calcium deposits of the heart, and if it's more than 50%, then it's significant. And then you can also turn around and manipulate the heart as being presented to you now. Now, there are two types of cardiac CT, your MDCT or multiple beam CT scan or electron beam CT scan. In terms of using this CT scan for calcium scoring, EBCT is useful. However, there is less resolution or spatial resolution of the images for the EBCT. MDCT has a better view and a better appreciation of the cardiac structures that you see in CT scan. So this is a typical example of cardiac MDCT wherein you can look at the coronary stenosis there on angiogram, and you can actually see it there on CT, and also a stent that was placed was also seen during the interrogation. Now, EBCT, as I've said, is good for calcium scoring. Now, cardiac CT can be used for rapid and irregular heart rates to evaluate cardiac function. Can assess high calcium scores, can assess the stents or the patency of the stent, can do contrast requirements, small vessels and collaterals are seen. Obese and uncooperative patients cannot be used, and there is possible of radiation exposure. Now, what about cardiac MRI? Cardiac MRI can actually look at so many things. It can look at the plaques, the coronary artery plaques. It can do coronary MRA, although this is on the experimental phase. It can look at possible MRI angiography or MRA, perfusion, scar and viability studies, function and or wall motion of the heart, and also anatomy and morphology. So this is a best example of a coarctation of the aorta involving the descending aorta, post-subclavian artery. So there is coarctation, okay? And on the left side, there is a unicuspal valve. The one that's opening is the unicuspal valve and a possible concomitant aortic stenosis. Cardiac MRI can also assess for your aortic aneurysm or dissection. It can actually look at the longitudinal structure of the heart all throughout. Okay. And also, besides looking at the aneurysms, we can also assess for MRI cine, for cardiac, for circulation, coronary artery circulation, and also for possible PE. Okay. Now the advantages of cardiac MRI, it has no radiation. It is less toxic using a gadolinium contrast. For the disadvantages, it is expensive. Patient might feel claustrophobic. It takes more than 30 minutes to do the acquisition time. It has a long acquisition time. It is operator dependent, and there are technical artifacts with 3T, and also problem in patients with metallic prosthesis because we cannot subject them to cardiac MRI. So what are the diagnostic tests according to clinical needs? So if your patient has chest pain syndrome, there's a possibility of intermediate likelihood for CAD. Resting ECG is abnormal, or the patient is not able to exercise. So we can do a CT angio for low to intermediate likelihood. For intermediate to high probability of CAD, we can use your nuclear echo, nuclear test, your myocardial perfusion imaging or MPI, stress echo, or the bitumen studies to look at the viability of the heart. Now, for the evaluation of chest pain syndrome, if your MPI is equivocal, you may now go to CT angio to confirm your findings. If the CT coronary angio is equivocal, you may now do your MPI to correlate with the findings. Now, in patients with suspected coronary anomalies like your TAPVR or total anomalous coronary artery return, CT angio can be done, and also MR angiography. In this diagram, a 50-year-old male underwent calcium coronary artery scoring for functional class 3 angina, but the RCA could not be engaged. The patient also underwent angio. So the patient was referred to CT angiography for suspected coronary anomaly, and lo and behold, it had abnormal right coronary artery. Now, for acute chest pain, detection of CAD, which is symptomatic, intermediate pretest probability of CAD, no ECG changes, and serial enzymes negative, we could do a CT angio or maybe a resting MPI to look at the perfusion of the heart or the function of the heart. Assessing for myocardial viability, the best view here or the best diagnostic procedure here is cardiac MRI, followed by PET scanning and thallium or SPECT, and then we can do low dose dobutamine echo to equate to your cardiac MRI in assessing myocardial viability. Another, if you want to assess cardiac function, the best thing that you can do is echocardiography. Nuclear studies can be done to cardiac MRI, or cardiac MDCT can also be done. But again, the best thing is the echo for cardiac function. For valvular function, still the echo is the best option. For cardiac shunts, like congenital anomalies, interatrial septum on this screen, you can do echo, and that's the best test that you could use. You can do nuclear first pass study, but not so specific, and also your cardiac MRI and cardiac CT. Now, in the assessment of cardiac masses, echocardiography still plays a role. Cardiac MRI and MDCT can be done, but then again, echo is very useful and very handy, so it should be requested right away. Now, in terms of pericardial conditions, in assessing that, we could actually use your echo using the transthoracic echo and transesophageal echo. Cardiac MRI CT can also be done. For the assessment of complex congenital heart disease, echocardiography is the #1 option, followed by cardiac CT and MRI. For post-CABG assessment, so this has saphenous vein graft on the coronary artery. Now, myocardial perfusion imaging study or CT angio can be done. Non-invasive coronary arterial mapping should be done, including internal mammary artery, prior to repeat cardiac surgical revascularization. Now, for patients with suspected aneurysm, aortic aneurysm, or dissection, echocardiography is still very useful. This is followed by CT angio and cardiac MRI. So this actual study actually evaluates for aortic and pulmonary disease. Okay, we are suspecting here a dissection of the aorta or a thoracic aneurysm possible. Now, is there any one-stop shop? That means it can check your calcium deposit, look at the soft plaques, and look at also the perfusion defect. Well, actually, there is no one-stop shop. There is no simple recipe. So in non-invasive cardiac imaging procedure, we should know the appropriate usage of all available technologies to us in order for us to assess the clinical entity or clinical disease of the patient. So again, there is no try, do, or do not. Thank you.